is dead.
To tell him to surrender. At least 6 people have died in the siege, now in its 4th day. A 3rd British child was released from the compound this morning, but Foreign Office figures suggest up to 26 Britons may still be inside. Kent Barker in London reports on today's events and examines the history of cult leaders whose beliefs have ended in violence.
The Mount Carmel ranch at Waco in Texas. Since Sunday night, increasing numbers of federal agents with increasing amounts of hardware have arrived to lay siege to the compound. They're not taking any chances following the disastrous early assault on the building, which left 4 agents dead and several wounded. It also left an unknown number of dead inside, where David Koresh and his bevy of wives and children and up to 70 followers have been living. Last night, Koresh promised to give himself up if a lengthy tape was broadcast.
Men have built up empires and churches all in the name of Christ, but have they given to their people the knowledge of which only the Lamb can give? No. His eyes were a flame of fire. The way he sees, 7 eyes really burn.
The message was transmitted. Koresh failed to come out, and a short time ago he said that God had told him to wait. But he did allow out a few people, including an 11-year-old English girl. It was Natalie Noborega on the left in this snapshot. Her mother, Teresa, is still in the besieged compound. Her father, Vincent, was at the family home in North London before he flew out to Texas today. But he'd visited Mount Carmel Ranch before, and he remembers Koresh well.
He has something about him that people believe, like he draws people to them. He has this charisma about him that everybody wants to believe him. You know, because when I was there, you know, although he couldn't convince me of his sect, I mean, he couldn't say, well, okay, come join my sect. If you kind of half believe, I would say, or even quarter believe that in this kind of, you would be overwhelmed by his words.
David Koresh came to Britain in 1988 on a recruiting drive. He descended uninvited on the official Seventh-day Adventist church and held meetings around the country. Few who met him then realized he would join the ranks of the infamous leaders who turned religion into a cult and the cult into violence. In 1969, Charles Manson and members of his so-called family slaughtered 9 people in a California mansion, including the actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant at the time. Nearly a decade later, the cult leader Jim Jones mixed cyanide with Kool-Aid and poisoned himself and 913 of his followers at the People's Temple in the jungle of Guyana. The Jonestown massacre followed the killings of a congressional party which flew in to investigate the cult. In the US in 1985, police took action against a radical cult called MOVE. They dropped a stun bomb on their Philadelphia headquarters to end a gunfight. Unfortunately, it started a fire which destroyed 60 houses and left 11 people dead. Then in Korea, 2 years later, a woman cult leader who claimed she was a living god persuaded 32 of her followers to commit suicide. According to psychiatrists, an overwhelming belief in themselves and a persecution complex are factors common to such cult leaders.
I suspect that they begin being dangerous when they meet a lot of antagonism from the surrounding normal society. And the paranoia, I think, of the cults is due to the fact that they have deliberately adopted alternative ways of living. And their ways of living often cut across the norms of society, like in sexual behavior towards children, peculiar attitudes towards money. I can see leaders, the sort of leaders that I know are around, becoming paranoid and defending themselves in this way because they don't think they're being attacked. They think they're defending a moral cause.
In Britain today?
I think it could happen, yes.
The siege of Mount Carmel has attracted worldwide media interest, as well as a determination to interview anyone who knew Koresh and almost all of his relatives.
He's just a little boy that hadn't really grown up, and he's had maybe a sad life, I don't know, but to me, he seems like he's just somebody that needs to be loved.
It remains far from certain after 4 days of the standoff whether it can be resolved without further bloodshed.
Kent Barker after the break.
He broke his promise to